This is a call to action. This is a call out and a warning. We are living in a hidden crisis of a loud posturing world. And in that loud posturing world, groups are today losing warmth. Our communities are losing its sanity, and we better worry about this. I'll speak a little bit more about this. It's a complicated topic and it's a very important topic. Stay with me to the end. There are several things that I will reveal that will work in your favor if you pay attention. And also, at the end of this, do leave your comments in the comment section so that I know what worked for you. But here is a reflection question for you. And in the question of warmth and society, let's start with our own selves. This reflection. When was the last time that you made someone feel genuinely appreciated, warm, or safe in a group conversation? Specifically in a group conversation. Or have you mostly in the last several years been silent because it was convenient, or critical because it was convenient, or judgmental and argumentative because that was convenient? If someone played all your conversations and texts back to you from the last 2 to 3 years, maybe even the last 6 months, what would they see more? More warmth or more performance anxiety, criticism, judgment, or silence in those? Important points to reflect. And let me come back to this. But here are some important things that we need to understand. That why is it so rare to find warmth in groups today? And this is not just any kind of group. You go to WhatsApp groups, it's the same thing. On subjects of positivity, everybody is silent. When it comes to negativity, everybody is fighting. When you look at gatherings, family gatherings, it's the same thing is happening. When you look at office meetings, it's the same thing that's happening. You get into a Zoom call, people don't want to switch on their video, and if they do, they're looking distracted. Nobody's paying attention to positives. Somebody says something negative and people start feeling unsafe and they want to argument and fight. What is happening here? And in fact, some of this conversation, this video, the topic of this video occurred to me when about 2 weeks back, two very intelligent, very well-intentioned people who were working on some transformation, they were talking to me. They are my coaches, and they were talking to me as their coach and mentor and bringing me their woes and worries, literally in tears. Both of them were telling me, and these are people from different organizations, very different cultures, both of them telling me in their conversation that they have tried a lot to stimulate their organization along with several other people who are influencers. People just don't want to respond and engage in conversation. What's happening? And that left me wondering, and it made me go out and do some research. And I was not startled, but definitely surprised at the intensity of the issue. Not startled because almost all of these things I had observed in my work, but surprised because the quantum was really serious, and there are so many psychologists and researchers who are trying to study this, who have experienced this globally. And this is all sorts of communities. Like, look at this data which says digital communication reduces empathy by 40%. And there are studies, including a study of Michigan University, which has found that young adults have been experiencing a constant drop of empathy since 2000 because of their digital interaction. There is also a serious negativity bias which social psychologists have been talking about, and they're saying that negativity bias is amplifying in groups. It's much worse than what it used to be. Forever, human beings have had that tendency to latch on to negativities and seek out negativity and perpetuate it because of our biological constitution. Because we have that inherent thing of flight or flight, or we have that alertness and that hypervigilance for our safety. So it's easy for us to catch this, but it's been increasing. In fact, it's now showing that more than ever, negative conversations are amplifying and lingering longer, almost 40, 50%, 60% in some cases, longer than what it used to just about half a decade or maybe even a decade back. Obviously, some of the things like COVID have created a big issue. Again, social media, not surprised. There are enough and more researchers and enough and more documentaries and movies which has been made on this. There are studies which are showing that social media is training people more and more to posture and less to connect. So everything from the emojis to short forms to the text form of communication. In fact, it's now being said by studies that the algorithm-driven communication is rewarding those communications which are focused on reward, outrage, hot takes, even tribalism and communalism to a great extent. Not really on the authentic connection. In fact, the trend is coming that regular conversations are absorbing the negativity from the social media conversation. Here is another one that I picked up, a Gallup study which said that public acknowledgement and gratitude in communities has fallen by 30% in the last 2 decades. What that essentially means is that communities are not being thankful for what they have, what they got. They want to focus on everything that they don't have as against this. In fact, some of these trends could even be election swears. There could be causes of communities fighting against each other when they are not expressing gratitude and being thankful. So I also referenced some studies which said it is becoming unusual for people to be in positive conversations. They are feeling uncomfortable. They are feeling as if there is some catch in those positive conversations. And last but not the least, something that I wanted to call out, and this is where the danger lies, that several psychologists, especially social psychologists and psychologists who are studying performance in organizations and institutions, are saying that in competition and social comparison driven environments or saturated environments, which almost is everywhere from our families to organizations to society today, fakeness as an emotional armor is very prominent. It has become one of the most prominent tools of people. In fact, at some point in time when the behaviorist movement happened, they used to say fake it till you make it. But today, the mantra seems to have become fake it because you can't make it. How much will you learn? How much will you change? So people are using things like positive fronting, fake smiles, trick of the trades, shortcuts, etc., and coming across as very well read. They're like, somebody was telling me about this trend where people are now reading book summaries and pretending that they are reading 3, 4, 5 books, 6 books, 10 books in a month. And they are showing off and putting pressure on others. And then what happens? Others also pick that up. So it's a lot of fakeness out there. So with all of that data, I hope the picture is becoming very clear of where our warmth is headed. The loss of warmth in our society is real. The challenge is real, and we all need to get up and take a notice of this, because let's understand that connection is a basic human need. Positive strokes are a basic human need. In fact, our stroke economy, which is the amount of strokes that we receive and the amount of strokes that we give, it has to really be healthy. If we don't receive strokes, we don't receive positive, genuine appreciation, it leads to our own shriveling. And if we are not going to give positive strokes, that whole ability to care, nurture, love, that's going to wither away and die away. So it's very important for us to give and take positive strokes. In the absence of that, we look for more and more negative strokes and we give more and more negative strokes. That's why negativity is spreading so much faster. In fact, back in my days when I was training deep into hypnotherapy, there is one thing that we learned, that it takes at least 21 instances of something that is positive to really make a difference to your system, your subconscious. Whereas it only takes 3 instances of something negative for it to make a deep impact on our psyche. Such is the danger that we are living in, such is the lack of warmth. So with all of that case making, I hope the case is made, the situation is very clear. We need to understand that we have to work consciously on warmth. My invitation to you, please work on this on yourself, your immediate family, your immediate friend circle, and in your organization. What could you do? There are 6 very clear things that I have worked with people in making the groups better. I am sharing that same formula, tried and tested for several years. And this is what I call being a responsible leader, a responsible human being in the social groups that you are in. Number one, be the one to initiate and sustain live conversations. We have such a dearth of live conversations today. Most of our conversations are either Zoom conversations or WhatsApp conversations or tons and tons of emails or so many other asynchronous ways of communicating. Sitting down in front of someone, having a cup of coffee, like they say, much can happen over coffee. Yes, it does. Have that chat. Socialize, talk, have long meandering conversations. It's not just that you need to have subject matter to have conversation, you need to have stamina to talk about things. All of this can be neurologically very stimulating. In fact, conversations, good quality conversations have been shown to be a stress buster. Yes, definitely so many other things happen like knowledge, character, your brain develops with it, but the biggest thing, it anchors you down, it takes your stress away. So be the one to initiate and sustain good long conversations, at least 2 in a week. Very important. Be the warm one, express appreciation, express love, genuine care, nurturing phenomena, our choice of positive words, our acts, what we do, how we gesture, those need to start becoming a lot more positive. Learn to smile on the inside out. Like Ashtanga Yoga, it begins by saying Yama, and within Yama, the first thing that we are taught to look at is Ahimsa. And that Ahimsa is not non-violence as is proclaimed by West. The first thing about Ahimsa is to have compassionate thoughts towards yourself and to others, to see yourself in the whole world. As they say, Yatho Pinde Tatho Brahmande. As it is within us, as is everywhere. So if we see that love in us, we will see it everywhere. If we see the love out there, we will see it in us. It's that process that we need to get into. And then, in the conversations, in the expression, listen deeply to learn. Learn about others. Learn about their triumphs, tribulations, challenges, their reality, their context. In fact, today, a lot of people really require listening. Whether it is those people, unfortunate people who went into drugs or suicide, or on the other side, those who are using all sorts of coping mechanisms to just stay sane, to someone who still is not in that zone of stress. Everyone requires someone to listen to them. Whose someone will you be? And you also need to find someone who can listen to you. So put it out there, listen, learn about others. There is so much that you may find easier in your life when you realize the challenges that others are dealing with. Here's my favorite, handwrite things. Your handwriting has a deep, deep impact on the way you focus on things, your ideas. Handwrite things, positive notes, positive messages, construct some positive one-liners. Maybe it's a motivation for you, but definitely it will be a motivation if you share it with others. Learn to put a handwritten thank you note, a handwritten birthday note, or whatever note that you pass, in your meetings or when you meet clients or when you meet somebody that you're working with. That itself will be a great personal touch that you can leave and an amazing warmth. The handwritten note is very, very powerful. Try it. Support others to succeed, especially in forums and groups in your organization. Sponsor others. It's a very positive habit. You could be far down in the hierarchy, but you can sponsor a leader, you can sponsor a colleague, you can sponsor a team member, you can sponsor another expert, you can sponsor people from outside the organization who have good, grounded, actual positive thoughts. Spread positive messages. When you get that habit, you will also earn sponsorship somewhere. However, don't do this to earn sponsorship, just do it because positive ideas, positive changes, positive wins will create positive energy in the environment. And last but not the least, spread positive ideas. If you come across positive poems, positive stories, an inspirational, a motivational journey on someone, spread it out there. Do these 6 things and you will find significant change in your own environment. It may not happen just in 1 or 2 weeks, but consistently 3-6 months. And when you start being positive, you will attract a lot more positive people. Groups are starving. Do this. you will be the first to start this movement of positivity. And coming back to the question that I started off with about your own quality of communication, remember, attention is the greatest form of generosity that you can give to somebody. Build on somebody's ideas and spread that. That's again another generous gift that you can give to others. Give others attention, give others warmth, be a generous human being. I'm sure it will come back to you.